Most business owners make decisions in the dark without even realizing it. They operate on gut instinct, outdated spreadsheets, or whatever their bookkeeper sends over that looks like tax time, right? But companies that grow, scale, and actually keep their profit, they treat their numbers like a roadmap. This week, we're talking about the kind of accounting that goes by beyond tax prep. You'll hear how proactive financial systems give you cash flow confidence, smarter planning, and a business that can weather any season. Plus, we break down what small businesses can borrow from commercial real estate accounting to think bigger and make decisions with long term value in mind. So, if you want to stop reacting to your finances and start owning them, this episode of Profit with a Plan is the one you want to catch. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you working too hard for too little profit? Well, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we help you scale smarter, increase profitability, and build a business that's worth more, whether you keep it or sell it. I'm Marcia Riner, business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to turn their businesses into highly profitable and sale ready assets so they enjoy more income now and a bigger payday later. So join me for practical strategies, expert insights, and proven steps to help your business be more profitable, more valuable, and built to last. By the way, today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. And so I got a question for you. If you're tired of flat revenue or marketing that just doesn't pay off, the new Profit Booster Growth Map might be for you. In just a few minutes, you'll learn exactly how to bring in more qualified clients and plug those profit leaks that might be eating away at your cash. Go get your growth map at profitbooster.biz and start turning your missed revenue into real money. All right, let's jump into today's episode. My guest, Sonny Grappone, is the co founder of Precision Counting and Consulting, or also known as Packed by Their Friends. That's a financial advisory and accounting firm known for helping small business owners gain control of their numbers and build healthier and more profitable companies. With years of experience in operational accounting, commercial real estate finance, and small business advisory, Sunny brings a clear, practical approach to financial management that owners can actually use. He specializes in turning messy books into clean, actionable financial systems, giving entrepreneurs the insights they need to plan ahead, manage cash flow, and make confident decisions. Sunny has guided hundreds of businesses through growth, crisis, and expansion by helping them understand the story behind their numbers. His mission is simple: give business owners the clarity they need to protect their company, increase their profit, and build long term financial freedom. Sunny, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast.
Hi, Marcia. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be on the show.
Yeah. I always like to start off and figure out how you got into numbers and finance. Usually there's some sort of thing that triggered along the way. We don't wake up and go, I'm going to be an accountant, or do we?
No, 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 no. It was a long and I wouldn't say treacherous, but it was a long journey to get there. I was a late bloomer. I went back to school when I was about 25. I was always an entrepreneur from the young age of my first job was 12 years old, bagging groceries at my parents' supermarket
Nice.
in New York, working at Wallbaum's. I used to have my little tip jar and I'd make great money, like $75 in a day on a weekend, and back then that was, a lot of money for me, So I always liked the idea of having my own money and making my own hours. And so, as I got older and I got my first real jobs, my first job was at Kmart and like doing stuff like that. I always had a side hustle. And I always knew I wanted to be my own boss, and it flourished for me in my 20s when I had a knack for detailing an auto body. Just came up naturally. I started working on my own car, and people started to see my work, and people started to get drawn to it. And people would come up to me and ask me, "Can you do my car? Can you do my car?" So it turned into a business where eventually I had my own body shop out in Long Island, and it grew. And I was doing a lot of residential auto detailing, wet sanding, compounding, that type of stuff. And by the age of 25, 26, I would say, I was getting some wear and tear on my body. And I remember going
Mm.
to the doctor and him telling me if you do this for like another 15, 20 years, it's not going to be good for you, you know. So because I had some injuries from basketball, I played college basketball when I was a kid, you know, so it was just it wasn't working out right for me. So, you know, my mother's dream was for me to go to school and finish. You know, she was very big on, you know, academics. You know, my mother comes from a third world country, Guyana in South America. You know, she came here with nothing and, you know, worked at a company, worked her way all the way up. And you know, kind of lived the American dream, you know, and she
Mm.
sacrificed everything for us. And she instilled the work ethic in me that I carry with me today. And her dream was for me to get an education and, you know, move forward. And I finally did at 25, decided to go back to school. And I said, let me see what you know, what I like. And I took a couple classes and I had an knack for accounting. Now, my mother's a bookkeeper for 40 years. All my aunts are accountants. And I kind of found my niche in there. I like,
A family
um,
business.
family, yeah. You know what's great about accounting? It's like one of the only things that I can do that I feel like truly present, you know, in the moment, focused, like I'm laser focused. And people think when they think accounts, they think math. And it's not more so math, it's more so problem solving. You know, it's like a puzzle.
Mm.
You know, you know, if something's happening on this side, it has to happen on this side. And if it doesn't, what's happening, right? Everything has to balance. You know, so I went to college at 25 and went back, you know, kind of started from scratch and I worked my way up, working two jobs, going through school, and finally I graduated with a degree in accounting and I worked corporate for a while. My first job was for a hospital and I didn't really like it too much. It was a non-for-profit, a lot of very, you know, monthly budget meetings, stuff like that, and I ventured off into consulting, working in Manhattan for a bunch of years, and I learned a lot. Just working in different industries, different fields, and finally, I was able to branch out. I got really tired of working in Manhattan. It changes you as a person. It's hustle and bustle, and you're always in a rush. And I spent 4 hours of my day commuting. You know, so,
I.
yeah, on the train, and at the time, my wife saw like I was just not happy, and I sacrificed my sanity for less money. And
Mm.
I worked for an individual that was trying to poach me for a long time that I consulted for. I took less money coming back, and it turned out it worked out. It was the best thing I ever did because I did so well here that he ended up becoming a partner with me in my own business, which is now Precision Accounting and Consulting, which we broke the door. Like I would say, I always had it on the side burner, but it officially became something in 2021. I would say right before like after the pandemic and kind of when people needed funding, PPP, that type of stuff. We kind of really the pandemic was like a godsend for us, I have to say, because
In the
it
accounting space, yeah.
oh yeah, because it expanded our scope going from New York now to, you know, every state in, you know, in the United States. You know, I have clients in Chicago, California, Vegas, Florida, you know, you name it. Uh, we're pretty out there, you know, so it just changed our landscape and we were able to bring value into areas that we never thought we'd be able to, you know, because New York is not that it's limited, but there's a lot of competition here, you know,
Oh, I
and
don't doubt it. I don't doubt
yeah.
it. So it sounds like that your original job at bagging groceries for tips was something that stayed inside of you and pushed you towards the business side rather than the corporate side of taxes, which I love. I think that so many business owners really truly don't understand their numbers. They get all squirmy or they look at it quickly enough to go, okay, it looks fine, let's go, right? Or the flip side, they rely so much on their accounting team, bookkeeper, external, whatever, tax person that they still really don't know.
Mm.
And I find that that's just I think that's the killer of business success and growth is not really understanding how to turn those numbers into financial systems like you said.
It's
So,
uh,
s
it's really unbelievable. Like when you see it, like you know, and the problem is they just don't have the right team in place. Like people take advice from a bookkeeper, and this is not putting bookkeepers down, but they're not accountants. You know, they
they're
can put
they're
in the
there to
data.
data entry.
Correct. You just mentioned real estate. We had a real estate client that we just visited a couple weeks ago. He has over $100 million in assets, right? Never did estate planning or anything like that. But cash flow wise, he has no idea where he is. Entity structure wise, he has no idea where he is. He just started doing cost segregations, within, a couple of years, and he's taken all his advice from his bookkeeper. It's mind-boggling.
It's scary, right? And so what I want to do with this conversation is talk about the financial systems and things that we can do as small business owners who aren't number savvy. Maybe they don't like looking at it, maybe they don't truly understand, and give them some tools or ideas to help really make it easier for them to make really great decisions, because everything you do has to be based on the data, right? I mean, I'm just a firm believer that, if you're not understanding what is coming in and what is going and how it's working and how it could work better for you, then how can you decide to make an investment in an employee or equipment or a new marketing position or step into a new market, which are all the things that are growth driven, without understanding those numbers.
Oh, 100%. And you're so right with that. When people come to us, they don't come to us when things are good. They come to us when things are bad.
Right.
And I always say that. And the funny thing is, so many business, I would say probably over 50% of business owners operate with the mentality that if I can make payroll and I can pay myself, I'm doing okay. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. They don't want to
Right.
see what's under the hood. And that's when they come to us, because then they can't make payroll or they can't pay themselves the salary that they were saying they were paying. And they're like, why can't I do this anymore? Well, have you ever took a look at any of your financials? That's one, right? Like, we send out so many financials to people, on a monthly
But they don't know what
basis.
they're looking at.
They don't ask any questions, and we dumb it down for them. I send a whole, financial breakdown for them, summary, everything, kind of making it, paint by numbers for them, and I find that kind of is helpful, but they get scared of what they're looking at. But if you make the right decisions in the beginning, and you cut the bad habits, from the get-go, you're going to save yourself a lot of pain. We've had so many companies come to us. We're in the construction. We deal a lot with construction also. Construction is one of our main niches.
Mhm.
And we did a lot of hospitality in the past, which I still do, but I shift over to construction, just because it's kind of where we're needed more. And we
Yeah.
find that we've been really honing in right now on job costing for our construction guys.
Mm.
Because so many of them come to us and they say, I have no idea what I'm making off each job. And I find it mind-boggling, because when they're going over their estimates or when they're about to place a bid, they have their estimates are estimates. They're not even close. Because then when you do their estimates and then you take their actual financials, you compare their estimates to financials, what actually happened, their variance is so off.
Mm.
So like, how do we get to those numbers? How do we utilize, certain, and they would try to do it manually. We are living in such a great time for technology,
Yeah.
where you have to embrace the mentality of work smarter, not hard. You
I
know,
love that. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's a really important piece of understanding your information, right? When you're making a bid on a project or a job or a new client, right? Or a new customer. If you're selling widgets, then you're really looking at cost per goods sold and operating expenses and those kind of things. But in reality, they're very similar, right? When you're bidding a job or you're making a proposal or a request for proposal, right? Where do you start to look in to say, well, I think this is what it cost me to do this job, to how variable it actually cost me? Where do we look for that?
well, so like one of the things I would do is look at your past financials, right? Look at like kind of like a percentage of revenue, right? At certain materials, because you're
But is
kind of
that something reasonable to ask a business owner? We just talked about it. No offense, business owners. We love you. I'm a business owner, but you're dumb when it comes to accounting. So when you ask them to look at the last percentage of,
well, you should.
they're not
Well,
going to
I'd
know
say
how.
Right. And I say that is like, do you know what your profit margins should actually be, right? In construction, you're lucky if you're making 10 to 20%, okay? If that, right? And that's gross. So when we do like something, for example, like we just had a client, a glazier that we work with, that we were doing job costing beforehand. He increased his profit margin by 30%
Mm.
after we had the bottom line for him, and we were costing out every single thing, and it all comes to internal procedures, right, and making sure you're doing everything. But to make it as simple as possible to utilize those numbers in the most efficient way, so you know how to estimate the right way, you have to have the right internal controls put in place, the right people that are giving you that data in order to make
Mm.
those informed decisions. Like we say it all the time, we set up all these softwares, automation, all this stuff. But if we're not getting the correct data, they're useless. And that's the
Garbage in is
biggest,
garbage out.
yes, and that is the biggest struggle I find with our clients is that we can't get them to put in the same amount of effort, like, to get where we need to get. If they
So
want us to
that's where the
do it,
bookkeeper comes in, though, right? Whether, we wouldn't expect the business owner to be doing data entry and putting it in there, but we also wouldn't expect the girl answering the phone as the receptionist to have the skill set to do it. So is that really an important hire that you want to have? Or outsource that you want to have, that bookkeeper knows exactly how to put in the data?
100.
Hey, quick pause here. If you've ever wondered what your next smartest move should be to grow your business, well, I've built something for you. It's called the Profit Booster Growth Map. It takes only about 2 minutes, it's totally free, and it shows you exactly where you're leaving money on the table and what to fix first. Go grab it for free at profitbooster.biz/growth map. Then come right back to the episode.
100%, and knows what they're working with, right? Like knows what data they're putting in, and first we automate, and then we have the right person to implement that data to automate, right? We
Got
just
it.
found this new tool. It's great. I'm giving them a little plug here, but it's called Adaptive. They're a software company that we just met out in Vegas when we were at the QuickBooks show. They are the first of its kind that does strictly job costing. That's all they do. Usually, when you find a software that does job costing, it's really more project management software.
Mm.
Procore, BuildOps, Notify. I'm just naming off a few people, software people might know. But they're just one facet of many. This company strictly just focuses on job costing, right? And from what I've seen on their case studies and trying out their software, they gave us a sandbox. They can reduce work time as far as data entry by almost 2 to 3 days. And from what I've seen, I mean, because what these people are manually doing, it's so much manual work of inputting the invoice, inputting the job codes, inputting the prices. It's just so redundant that there's no
Mm-mm.
thinking involved. It's just robotic, and sometimes that's how mistakes get. We're trying to get somewhere where we're getting the right data for these business owners to make the informed decisions, right? Because if I'm a business owner, I need to look at everything as high level as possible,
Right.
in order to
And
make
you
those
need to
informed
trust that
decisions.
the data is being put in properly, and you have the codes on them, and you have the price for the widget that came to make the bigger widget that became to make, the service possible, right? So it's that daisy chain of things.
100%.
One, if you make a mistake on A, then the whole thing's exponentially out of whack. But if you make the right moves everywhere along the chain, then it shows up accurate.
100%. And you know what? The problem is too, you have to have a staff that's open to change. And a lot of people aren't.
the
Like
the
with
bad
that,
word
that is
change.
like, oh my God. And that's why, like, I try to inform people when they come with us, we're going to have either one or two options. It's either we work with your team or you outsource the whole thing to us because they're not willing to do what you need to do to get you where you need to be.
Mhm.
And like if you want to set up your business for success, we deal with that a lot in the hospitality industry. We get these restaurants that come to us, right? And they have one location. Their dream is to expand to two, three, four, five locations. Okay, great. Let's do it. Let's come up with
Let's
this.
nail the first one.
Yeah, let's nail the first one, get the model right. Let's get lending for, 20 to 30%, and it's just a cycle that reoccurs. And we help businesses successfully do that based on profits, right? Building the model, taking a certain percentage of profit, creating another fund, for them to put that in. And over time, we had just helped this place, Gnocchi. They're called Gnocchi NYC. They make Italian gnocchis. Um,
Yum.
yeah, very great business model. Not a lot of infrastructure, not a lot of upfront costs for it. And when we started with them, they had 2 locations. Now they're at 7.
Wow.
Because we had such a structure in place that we knew their profit margins from the get-go. We had the correct data and the correct tools in place to get that data, right? The people that are inputting that data, they're not, my point is they're never going to do as good a job as the software is going to do. So let
Mm.
the software do its job and you just be a component of that software, putting in the
Well, sure.
data.
Then it becomes here's the baseline, right? So when you're setting it up, you're setting the baseline for it. And if something changes, you have a one variable or two variables you can change in that. And then the software runs based on that variable, right?
Correct.
Or based on that baseline. And then it gets giving you the information. And then like now I'm thinking, okay, if I don't have to pay Susie Q, 2 days to input data every month, and I only have to pay her a couple hours one day to input the data, then that's a cost savings on me to offset the expense of the software without the errors. Especially in today's space of AI. I mean, so many people are leaning towards or leaning into the technology because less errors.
Track your costs, right? I mean, like at every penny. We just had a company recently that went belly up. They were a startup construction company. I see this a lot all the time. What happens is their insurance, right? A lot of these guys, if you ask them, how are you paying for your insurance? And they like look at me like dumbfounded. And I'm like, are you paying it out of profit or are you bidding it into your jobs? They're like, I don't know. I just pay the renewal when it's up. So you're not paying it through, you're not putting it into your bids then. No.
Mm.
Why aren't you putting it into your bids? So what
And it's a
happens is
major expense.
major general
It's a
liability and workers'
major
comp,
expense.
and it's based off payroll, right? So you estimate your payroll will be 200,000. You go throughout the year. At the end of the year, it was 500,000. Well, guess what? Now you're going to owe that difference at audit time. Okay, you're going to owe about whatever it is, the 300 grand difference that they're going to base that premium off of. They don't audit you at 12/31. They audit you at April. So now you owe for the whole year, and then the 4 months you underestimated in. That puts people out of business because they can't come up
Right.
with the money, right? So now,
Got it.
like with this company that we did it for, we were able to get them out of that muck. They had the money to pay, but they didn't want to get in the same situation. But now we put tools in place, software in place to track their payroll, to make sure that they are on pace with what they estimated their policies to be. And if they're not, they need to place that into their bids going forward so they don't run into this situation, right?
Okay,
It's
I'm
just
hearing a common theme here, Sonny, that
sure.
it's not about the revenue coming in and the expenses going out on that kind of level. It's looking at the small itty bitty pieces, or in the general contractor's insurance claim, right? Those are big movements that the business owner is not thinking on how to best structure. And to have a team like you in there to say, hey, this is the best way we know how to do it. And if you're looking at it like this is how it's going to benefit you coming out. The business owner, the best thing a business owner can have is consistency and repeatability and, having something planned and known and aware of rather than the surprise out of left field or the oops, I didn't plan for that, or wow, I don't have it, right? And next thing you know,
Yes.
you're out of business. And in the small space, that number can really kick you to the curb, right?
Right, 100%. And you should know these things ahead of time, right?
You
Like
should.
you
You
should know.
should, but they don't. And if they do know it, they don't know if it's in the right space, right? If it's in the right spot, if it's on the correct line, right? To make it before taxes, after taxes, before, profit, after profit. Is it in the right column? And how can I take advantage of the best thing? The tax code has this gigantic book, right? That you have to follow. And the smart people that follow it are the ones that are able to profit more from it and have a consistent, steady business, which is great now and great later when you want to sell it, because now the buyer knows that it's like, okay, you've been doing your books properly and the numbers make sense. So there's no way for me to wiggle on the price.
Well, I say that all the time, especially with customers that we, say like, a lot of times we're an outsourced fit, right? But what happens is, say if they go elsewhere, well, they don't really go elsewhere. What happens is that they grow big and they want to go internal. That's usually what happens. They're going to
Yeah.
hire, and which, whatever. And we see, and then they end up coming back to us, which happens a lot of the time because their books go to stuff. But when they don't keep those proper books in place, like you said, and then it comes valuation time to sell their business, they're going to be screwed. And then the other thing is, putting in place also proper tax planning, which we do a lot of, especially on a quarterly basis, to make sure we're staying ahead of the game, that you're paying your quarterly estimate, that you're taking advantage of all the tax advantages that, are at your foot. I, I just had a company we just did. We were looking for, they were basically in a budget crisis and they needed to hire three internal people at their company. It's a manufacturing company that we consult with, and they couldn't find it. We were looking at the numbers. There was no wiggle room on, through their P&L and their payroll. We
To be able
couldn't
to pay
really,
for the employees, right?
yeah, they need to hire three more guys, and we couldn't trim the fat enough to find it. And that happens. Your profit margins are so, tight
We
at the
all
time.
know they're very tight, right? We're in a world of chasing to the bottom, right? We're competing with people, we're lowering our prices, the cost of everything is going up. So we know and we feel it. But I think we as business owners, we sit there and go, well, what else can I do? My customers can't, handle a price increase. I can't handle the carrying the load. So where do I go? And that's the awareness playground of sort that you need a competent team with that can come in and say, hey, here's where we can make some tiny shifts, some tiny changes to make it so that you can and everybody's still, happy.
I think it too, and knowing, having the right team, like even us, I have the right team around me, strategic alliances that, like, if I can't make informed decisions or I can't help my customer in the accounting realm, I'll go to other people like, that do stuff well that I may not know about that give tax benefits. That example I just told you, we ended up finding that customer what we call a wellness program, okay? Because they had a certain amount of employees. They had over 25 employees, and if you have over 25 employees, the government incentivizes you to stay healthy. They want your employees to stay healthy because in the long run, it lowers insurance costs and it just helps everybody out. So they put a program out there that if you sign up for a wellness program, preventative health measures, where it pays for gym memberships, it gives you all these tax benefits. It lowers your FICA taxes significantly. You don't have to pay FICA tax on that. So we found this wellness program that we implemented for this team, and I had the right team to implement it for them, and we ended up saving them $600 per employee per pay period. Okay. Which was
Wow.
like astronomical. So we did the math, and at the end of the day, they're going to end up, and we're going to do the same thing for our physical therapist that we just made the same recommendation, but we just found this out months ago. So like now I'm like, all right, like we need to give this to more people, that are dealing with those budget deficits, that need money in order to, hire
They need
and
to shift and move things around a little bit so they can do it.
yes.
And that's the benefit of being the business owner, right? Is that you now get those government opportunities or tax deductions in many instances, or grants, or movements in your financials that allow you to hire. They want you to hire. They want you to stay in business. They want you to pay taxes, but they're doing these things so that you're a better steward in your community. And when you do that, you get rewarded for it, which allows you to be and do more, right?
Yes, and that happened a lot with the recent grants that went out and during the pandemic. We did a lot of them, the employee retention credit, right? And
Sure.
if people and we qualified a lot of people, but we also disqualified a lot of people because we have certain ethics and guidelines to guide by. And the purpose of that credit was to hire more people on payroll so you could sustain your staff. That's what it was for, to give you back
Hmm.
those payroll taxes that you were paying, and so you could expand. And a lot of people didn't, and now they're struggling or they're out of business. And we've seen quite a few will go under because they didn't properly plan with those funds, and it's sad to see. and the
Which
government's
is
not giving away that much money.
why you need somebody who's aware of the opportunities and the knowledge and skill set to be able to go, look, you're busy selling your product, right? You're busy running your business every day. Your job as a business owner is not to know tax code and angles and directions and things you can do with your numbers. You have to be able to sit down with someone and take that data and use it properly, but you also need that someone that has the skill set and mindset to come in and go, have you thought about this? What if we did
Oh,
this? This would
say
open
that
the door to
all the
this
time.
and that. What do you think? You know, and
I say it
and you
all the
just
time.
can't get that from a bookkeeper or a tax professional or or all accountants. So there are great people in all industry, but there's a lot of generalists that are single-minded and looking at a certain direction. So having that consulting company like yours that can see and navigate these things could be really beneficial.
Yeah, I tell people that look, I get it if you're just starting your own business, right? Costs are limited, right? You're not making a profit within your first couple of years. I totally get that. But once you're established, like you shouldn't be doing your own marketing. You shouldn't be doing your own accounting. And when people look at me like it more of an expense, whatever you're paying for, you should look at it as an investment. Like I'm an investment. I'm like our guarantee is that we hopefully within every customer at the end of the day we always try to guarantee them we're successful 93%. I've actually done the study on it. 93% of the time, we've been more successful at saving you more money than our annual fee. And that's our goal at the end of the day. We're going to save you more money than what we cost you annually. And we do a pretty good job on that. And we show you the breakdown at the end of the year of what we saved you, whether it be through tax or finding cuts in accounting, through your team on the financials, whatever it may be. We've become very successful on that note. So
Well,
that's
and
what I
then that
say.
becomes exactly that becomes the investment in what you're doing to make your company bigger, better, and stronger. So
Yes,
smart.
100%.
I love that. I love that's I mean, I try and do the same thing too. I'm going to grow your company and, the revenue enough to cover my costs, right? So then I'm actually free. you know,
No,
and then everything else on top is gravy, right? To look at those kind of opportunities. But hey, Sonny, I know we can talk for days on this subject, and there's so many rabbit holes that the business owners A get caught in, B they can't see, or 3 they're leaving on the table. And so I want to encourage today's listeners to really think about what can I do different in the upcoming year to make my business stronger and be able to take advantage of opportunities and growth. So where can listeners find out more about you and Pack?
oh, sure. So you can go to our website, right? That's precisionaccountingconsulting.com. You could also reach out to us for a free consultation on our website. And we also have a podcast called Profit Principle Podcast. That's strictly on YouTube and Spotify, where we give great tax and accounting tips for business owners, and we introduce new products and new lines that can help automate your business and make you more efficient on the back office on the accounting side. And you could also reach out to me, Sonny Grappone, in Accounting and Consulting LLC in Melville, New York. We just say that because there's others precision accounting, but just so you get the right one.
Nice. Nice. Well, that's great. Thanks. I know that um, podcasters are great, and getting value, right? We may not be ready to buy right now today, but there's always value we can find. And when we are ready to buy, then we're in the right spot because we've been circling the wagons and getting ready for that. So I think it's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely right. Thank you.
Great. All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you picked up some valuable insights and actionable ideas that will help you make your business more profitable. And I know, no, 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 and 100% believe that looking at your financial data helps you make smart decisions. And whether those are hiring, growth, increasing revenues, preparing to sell your company, you need to have the right people and the right data that's in there to help you make those decisions the best way possible for your company. So I'd encourage you to reach out to Sonny and get some of his goodies there. All right, before we go, if you're ready to bring in more of the right clients and keep more of the what you earn, then go grab my free Profit Booster Growth Map. It'll pinpoint the top 3 moves to grow revenue and stop those profit leaks fast. You can get it anytime. It's easy. There's no sales pitch. There's nothing. It's just a great little tool I love to give. And my boyfriend Chad GPT helped me create it. So it's got some great ideas. You can go get it at profitbooster.biz. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always find Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast platforms. We're looking forward to more great profitable strategies with you on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Sonny. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I had a great time. Thank you so much, Marcia.